The Royal Birthright series contains 6 books of chronological Bible accounts spanning 6 nights of a family retreat. Sample chapters will be presented from each book, each a different night of the retreat. These are fictional books containing true events, untainted by literary license, but embellished where the Bible is silent. I present these chapters for your enjoyment and have provided a link where you can learn more about the books, if these chapters pique your interest. Bible narratives make the best adventures. Now, on to a sample chapter from Retreat Night 1. Royal Birthright Lost.
Chapter 7. Better Choices. Sin crouches at the door. Cain and Abel had grown to manhood. Adam gave them each a possession of land. Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Abel a keeper of sheep. The world was multiplying rapidly now, as many of the children had come of age and reproduced generations of their own, even if in faraway places. Adam hoped his children would be able to serve the great king well and be rewarded, in spite of their parents failing in the Garden of Paradise. Adam and Eve waited in hope for the day their seed would crush the serpent's head as the great king had promised. The fields allotted to Cain and Abel were near enough together for Cain to enjoy the meat and skins of Abel's flock and for Abel to enjoy the harvests of Cain's field. In spite of it all, through all of their quarreling and fighting, they had genuine affection for one another. They and 3 of their sisters had been the only ones that stayed near to their parents' home. Their many adventurous and headstrong younger brothers and sisters had set out on their own to make their own way in other places and had not been heard from again. All along, the Dark Prince watched over his dominion. He studied the seed of the woman as it spread across the earth. He waited for an opportunity to corrupt them. Any opportunity. He talked with the Watchers often, the ones who would talk with him. Idolatry was taught by the rebel Elohim to all the tribes and clans formed by the children who had left the homestead. They had chosen a nomad way of life, instead of following the ways of the great king and the example set by Adam and Eve. The army of the evil prince was vast. 1/3 of the great city had followed him, but that meant they may still be outnumbered 2 to 1. The Dark Prince was always looking for a way to even up the odds. 1/3 was unwaveringly loyal to the great king. 1/3 to him. But is it possible that some of the last third were up for grabs? Enough of them had joined the battle late in the war to turn the tide against him, but not nearly all of them. Could it be that some of them could still be persuaded to fight for him? He must find a way to increase his numbers. Adam and Eve had been recurrently preparing an offering to the great king on the altar they had built from great flat stones. They had dragged them to the highest hilltop near their home since their first year in the Cave of Hope, as they had named it. Their offerings were pitiful in some years, because they had almost nothing, but the offering was always made from the best of whatever they had. They would pray, "Forgive us our trespass and our sin, great king, and look upon us with eyes of mercy. When we were in the garden, our prose and our hymns were praises to you. Look upon this gift prepared with oils and seasonings and accept it from our hearts as those songs we lifted up to you before." The great king had not requested this from them, and seeing that it came from a place of pure love and repentance, would look down on their offering and a great fire would come down from the sky and consume it. He smelled the sweet savor of their offering and was pleased. They would give thanks for his mercy on them. As time passed, the offerings improved with the increase in their blessings, and they would pray, "Forgive us our trespass and our sin, great king, and look upon us with eyes of mercy. When we were in the garden, our prose and our hymns were praises to you. But when we came to this strange land, pure praise was no longer ours. Nor righteous prayer. Nor understanding hearts. Nor sweet thoughts, just counsels, long discernment, nor upright feelings. Neither did our bright nature remain in us. But rather our bodies are changed from the flawlessness in which they were at first, when we were created. Yet now, look upon this gift, the fattest of our firstlings. A lamb seasoned with oils and herbs and fruits from the best we can offer, and accepted at our hands, like the praise we used to sing to you in the garden." Each time, a great fire would come down from the sky and consume it. Each time, he smelled the sweet savor of their offering and was pleased. Each time, they would give thanks for his mercy on them. When the evil prince, the hater of all good, saw how they continued in prayer, and how the great king had repeatedly accepted their offerings for clemency, his rage toward them grew exceedingly. After some time of working their lands, Cain and Abel each brought their own approximating offering to the great king, as their parents did. Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, which had fallen before the harvest and had already begun to ripen. Abel brought from the firstlings of his flock, the fattest among them and the best specimen. Each of them laid their offerings on a high flat stone. Cain, his overripened fruits, and Abel his best lamb, seasoned with oil and spices, producing a flavorful, soothing aroma, and they prayed the prayer of thanksgiving, requesting forgiveness and mercy from the great king. The great king turned and inclined to Abel and his offering, and a fire came down from heaven and consumed it. To Cain and his offering, the great king did not turn, and he did not incline to it, for Cain had brought from the inferior fruit off of the ground. Cain was not careful to give the best he had. This indicated that his devotion to the great king was not strong and true. Cain grew angry and stared down at the ground, his face turning red with anger and humiliation. The great king said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? Have you not sinned if you have brought your offering, but not given your best? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin crouches at the door. Its desire is to have you, but you must rule over it." Cain was envious toward his brother because of this, and thought in his heart to destroy him. He had no thought to even consider ruling over the evil he felt in his heart, instead reveling in it. The great king and his brother could just go away and leave him alone. He didn't need any of them. Cain was quick to anger, as his family had learned over the years. Abel knew how to set him off, and oftentimes would have been better off to hold his tongue and walk away while Cain cooled down. Abel had not quite mastered that skill, confident that he had the moral high ground in his faithful service to the great king. Unfortunately, Abel had not yet realized the depth of the struggle his brother was having and where it would lead him. Adam went to Cain. Cain told his father with tear-filled eyes what the great king had said to him about defeating the sin that waited for him at the door. He told his father how angry he felt at the unfair treatment he received from the great king. Adam sighed at his son's assessment of the events. There is an adversary who desires your rebellion against the great king, as he rebels. He is a thief who only comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The great king always shows us his way so we can avoid the pitfalls seeking us. Humbling yourself will lead you right into the great king's grace, but humiliating yourself with anger and defiance will place you right into the enemy's hands. Adam took a deep breath, holding back his tears as he recalled his own humiliation and disgrace. Adam counseled his son, "Make no mistake about it, son, the enemy is seeking any opportunity he may find to corrupt us. It is in the flesh that our weakness lies, but also our survival, because this is the house that was designed for living in this earthly realm. You must set your mind against the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye and the pride of life to prevail." Adam encouraged, "Use your strength to overcome instead of investing it in anger. I have seen you, son, set your mind to a thing and achieve it through great determination. When we first came to this place, the ground was wild and cruel. For years we nearly starved because it produced weed and thistle and pests that destroyed most of our food. You worked side by side with me in the field since you were very small. Even when it seemed that we would never tame these fields that now sustain us so well, you never gave up. You even kept me from giving up. You were always there with me, expecting to succeed, believing the good ground was in there somewhere, practically willing it into existence with your tenacity. Now that's the kind of devotion and faith the great king can approve. The earth and field, the crops, I understand. Is it not the proverb of our house that salvation is in the seed?" asked Cain. "Not the seed of the field. That is not what that means. It is you and your brother that have the seed that will lead to salvation. After all this time, how could you possibly not understand that?" Adam asked. The great king's promise was to crush the head of the serpent through our bloodline. His mercy was beyond anything we deserved, Cain. In spite of the hardship we have had to overcome, he treated us much more fairly than he had to, explained Adam. Cain retorted, "The great king is not fair to me. He loves the rest of you more than he loves me, especially Abel." "That is not true, Cain, and you know it." His father snapped, then composed himself again, slowly exhaling a deep breath. "Who are we that he, the great king and creator of the entire universe, is even mindful of us? And yet somehow he loves us. You and Abel are completely different people. Each of you has your own talents. The great king delights in each of us and has endless and perfect love for all of us. If it were not so, we would have perished long ago. We deserved to perish long ago, but the great king spared us and gave us children and a chance to make better choices." "Spared us? You call this being spared?" questioned Cain. "We could have lived in the garden east of paradise where the ground is kind and bountiful, or we would have been kings forever. We cannot even go there. I will never even see it. You ruined our lives. You do not understand how it feels." "Son, I understand more than you could ever know. Your mother and I carry this shame with us always. Do you not think we miss the garden, too? We grieve over the loss of it, but the moment we doubted the character and motive of the great king in favor of our own sovereignty, we gave up our birthright for nothing." Adam added, "We were not ever mindful of the dangers that lust and pride unleash, as we had been instructed. That is why the great king warns you that sin waits at the door for you, that you might open it, even just a crack, and let it in. The great king has witnessed our weakness and desires better for you," Adam explained. Adam felt the hardness of Cain's heart. As his son stood silently, his anger continued to fester. Adam grappled for the words that would reach his son. "You're right, we did ruin our lives. We are aging and deteriorating with each season that passes. For 50 years, each day in the garden was the same as the first. There was never any of the decay we see here. We were so foolish to believe that we would not die when we ate from the forbidden tree, simply because we did not instantly perish from the earth. We did, however, experience a separation from the great king, a devastating darkening of our once pure souls. In our iniquity, we could no longer dwell with him in harmony and peace, because we had become unfit to stand in his presence, as we had before. That instant severing of our direct communion with him is so much worse than the slow physical death we are moving toward. But the great king loves us still and prepares a way for us, even now, to return to dwell with him again. Salvation is in the seed, Cain." "But I gave him my offering, and he rejected me," replied Cain, his eyes welling up with tears. "Do not despise his correction of you, Cain," implored his father. "This is a sign of his love. The great king has not rejected you. He rejected your half-hearted display. He rejected you begrudgingly offering less than your best to him. It was worse than making no offering at all. What was rejected was not freely giving your best to him from a heart of devotion and willingness to please. We have the free will to choose to love him or not, even in our fallen state. The only love that matters is that which comes from a heart that chooses to love freely and purely, like his love. I try to love him, but my love is not good enough for him," screamed Cain. Adam wanted to grow impatient with Cain, but knew that was his own evil counseling him, so was careful to speak wisely. "My son, you contort yourself to no good end when you know in your heart that you did not give your best and did not give lovingly. If I know it, then you know it. You certainly know that the great king knows it. He knew instantly when your mother and I attempted to deceive him. It is useless to try to hide anything from him. Free yourself from this anger and turn your heart to service and humility. As painful as this day will pass. You will have opportunities to make better choices. Better choices apply to attitudes as much as actions. If the repentance of your heart is true, the great king will forgive you. In you, my son, is everything required to please him. You must bring it forth." Adam paused to choose his next words carefully, as he could feel his son's heart softening to his words. Looking squarely into his son's eyes now, with his hands on his son's broad shoulders, Adam said, "Here is what I know, son. We were created in their image, being triune. Within each of us are two great beasts, warring against each other. One lives in the flesh and bloodlusts for rebellion, pride, and vengeance. The other lives in the spirit and hungers for righteousness, virtue, and justice. The battleground is the shared mind of the man that resides in his soul, each beast fighting for control of it. This battle for the soul wages day and night unceasingly. Adam embraced his son and spoke softly in his ear, "Cain," his voice slightly quivering as he fought back his tears, "it is not the better of the beasts that prevails. It is the one we feed." With tears welling up in his eyes, Adam kissed his son's cheek, turned and departed. Cain's head dropped to his hands as he slid to the ground with his back against the pillar of the altar where his rotting fruits and vegetables lay gathering flies. He cried as the shame of his actions engulfed him. He was embarrassed that his father knew him that well. The archangel Uriel stood over Cain, ministering to his spirit, to clear his confusion and inspire him to make better decisions, as he had so often done with Cain's father. The dark prince was profoundly disappointed. He had come so close to reaching Cain, he almost had him turned against the great king, but Adam and Uriel had intervened, snatching Cain right from his grasp. Cain composed himself, cleaned the altar, and walked home as night fell. He was reflecting on his father's words as he fell asleep, consumed with thoughts of making better choices. Their royal birthright may have been lost, but he still came from a very noble bloodline. His parents were hardworking, moral people who had given their children a good education and had set very high standards by example. Asking the great king to forgive him, he resolved that he would try harder. When morning came, he arose with a happy heart and put the events of yesterday behind him. The dark prince often watched Cain and Abel working in the fields, waiting for an opportunity to destroy them. Some time had passed since the offering, and Cain and Abel went out to do their work. They were both in their fields. Cain was tilling and plowing his field, and Abel was feeding his flock. The dark prince saw his opening, causing a great rustling in the grasses that frightened the sheep into running toward and onto Cain's field. Abel's flock then passed over that part of Cain's field which had just been plowed and on to where the wheat was planted, where they began to feed on it. Abel tried to stop them, chasing after them, but he did not get to them in time. Cain turned when he heard the commotion and saw his brother and his sheep trampling across his perfectly tailored rows and Abel's sheep feeding on his unharvested crop. Cain became very annoyed and approached his brother with anger in his steely blue eyes, yelling, "Who do you think you are that you would come and bring your flock to feed on my land?" And Abel answered his brother Cain and said, "Who do you think you are that you should eat the flesh of my flock and clothe yourself with their wool? So take off the wool of my sheep with which you have clothed yourself, and compensate me for the fruit and flesh of my flock which you have eaten. When you have done this, I will then get off of your land as you have said." Cain had completely forgotten that he had plotted in his heart to kill his brother after Uriel and his father had counseled him weeks before. But when he heard Abel's righteous lecturing tone, the rage began to rise back up in him. Abel was feeling emboldened from the deference the great king had shown his offering. He believed he had righteousness on his side. Clearly, neither one of them was going to back down quickly. Cain said to his brother Abel, "Surely if I kill you this day, who will require blood from me?" There had been many times Cain had felt in his heart to harm his brother in anger, but neither one of them ever thought he would really follow through on any kind of serious injury. The dark prince drew closer, as delight began to rise up in him. Abel, fully feeling his recent right standing with the great king, answered Cain, saying, "Surely the great king who has made us in the earth will avenge my cause, and he will require my blood from you should you kill me. He is the judge and arbiter, and it is he who will retaliate against a man according to his evil, and the wicked man according to the wickedness that he may do on earth. And now, if you should kill me here, the great king will know the secrets of your heart. He will judge you for the evil which you did declare to do to me this day." Abel wondered if Cain had forgotten all of the warnings their parents had given them and the story of how they had been expelled from the garden by the great king for their sin. How could he show no fear and reverence for the great king? Why did he fight against the righteous path so fervently? Abel then thought to apologize to his brother. His sheep had trampled Cain's freshly plowed field and started feeding on his crop. The offense was accidental. He began to feel regret for arguing with his brother over it. But when Cain heard the words Abel had spoken, the anger of Cain was ignited against him for declaring the judgment of the great king. Abel saw his brother's face turn beet red. Before Abel could speak or defend himself or run away, Cain hastened and rose up his plowing instrument, with which he suddenly slashed his brother repeatedly, and he killed him. Cain spilled the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel streamed before the flock. Abel's body lay crumpled, broken, and bloody on the ground. Cain was dumbfounded and horrified. Confusion and disbelief overwhelmed him. Had this really happened? He dropped the plow, fell to his knees and lifted his brother into his arms, shaking his lifeless body. "Abel! Abel!" he screamed. With tears flooding out of his eyes, he searched his mind for a way to revive his brother so he could beg his forgiveness and tell him he was sorry. How could this be? "Abel," he screamed again. "Brother, I am so sorry. Please forgive me, brother. Please, brother, wake up." Cain sobbed uncontrollably, holding his brother's motionless body as he rocked back and forth on his knees in the dirt. He hated himself. How could he have done this thing? What could he do now? He held his brother's body in his arms for a long time, until he could cry no more and the sun was low in the sky. Filled with guilt, covered in his brother's blood and knowing there was no way to change what he had done, Cain rose up and wiped his brother's blood from his plowing tool. With it, he dug a hole in the field, where he put his brother's body and turned the dust over him. The Dark Prince was giddy with pleasure. He could not believe his good fortune. The sight of Abel's blood filled him with delight. He had never witnessed anything so exhilarating and inspiring as murder. Cain's torment was an added thrill. "Crush my head, indeed," he exclaimed to himself, laughing joyously. The great king knew what Cain had done to his brother, and he appeared to Cain and said to him, "Where is Abel your brother? Wasn't he with you?" Cain, trying to hide the truth, said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" The great king said to him, "Cain, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground where you have killed him." Cain's heart sank with fear and dread. His memory was now flooded with the remembrance of his parents trying to hide from the great king in the garden. Why had he even tried to deceive him? Even Abel had said that Cain could not hide this deed from the great king. "You have killed your brother and have attempted to hide the truth from me, and imagined in your heart that I did not see you, nor knew all your actions. You killed your brother for nothing, only because he spoke the truth to you. Now you will be cursed from the ground which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand, from where you buried him. I have uncovered your brother and your iniquity," said the great king. "Now it will be," he continued, "when you till the land, it will no longer give you its strength. As in the beginning, thorns and thistles will the ground produce for you. You will be moving and wandering in the earth, a fugitive and a vagabond, until the day of your death." Cain lamented, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." The great king proclaimed, "Not so, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance will be suffered 7 times over." The great king put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him, changing his eyes from both brightly blue to one blue and one green. Cain's eyes had always been strikingly pleasing and beautiful, but now were strangely disorienting. Anyone who would look into them would be mesmerized and unwilling to cause him harm. Cain bowed his head in shame. He could say nothing. He had no defense for his actions. He was an evil fool, and the great king knew it. What was the point in trying to deny anything now? The great king had spoken. In spite of his father's admonitions and Uriel's counsel and his own promise to try harder, his opportunity to make better choices had come and gone in a flash of uncontrolled rage and wounded pride. Eve asked Adam when he returned from the field to eat, "Have you seen Abel today?" "No," answered Adam. "Why?" "Well, he was going to come to help me work some new skins today, but he did not show up. It is not like him to just not show up. We had a whole afternoon of work planned together. I am worried," Eve explained. "Well, if we don't hear from him before morning, we'll go and see him tomorrow," decided Adam. Eve felt a pit in her stomach and wanted to object, but she continued serving the food and did not speak any further of it. They worked the lessons with the children, got them all tucked into bed and then lay down together. "Adam," Eve said softly, "I feel like something is wrong." "Go to sleep, Eve. Morning will bring a new day," replied Adam. And they both drifted off to sleep. Adam and Eve climbed into one of their carts and went to search for Abel the next morning. They went together and found Abel murdered in the now uncovered hole in the ground in Cain's field where Michael the archangel was standing and waiting for them. Eve jumped down from the cart and ran to the place where Abel was lying. "My son," screamed Eve. "My beautiful son. What happened to him?" she asked as the shock of seeing her son's lifeless body jolted through her. "Where's Cain?" Michael the archangel told Adam and Eve. They were arguing in the field, and Cain struck Abel with his plow, and Abel fell to the ground in a pool of his own blood. "No! No, no, no," Eve retorted, as Michael continued. Cain tried but could not revive him, so he buried him in the dirt like a planting. The great king came and asked Cain where his brother was, and Cain tried to hide the truth from him. The great king uncovered the dirt from Abel's grave to expose his treachery. Now the great king has said that Cain with all of his household and possessions have to leave this place. Leave this place? And go where? No, 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 no. Adam had nearly stopped breathing. The distress was too great. His eyes flooded with tears, reliving his own banishment for his evil actions. What? What did you? Adam's voice trailed off, stammering and clutching Eve. "Oh, my precious Abel," he grieved. "I let sin into this world. Because of my wickedness, this has happened to my sons. What will happen to Cain now?" he whispered to himself, but Michael heard his words. The great king marked him and turned one of his eyes from bright blue to blue and the other to green, saying that if anyone kills him, vengeance will be sevenfold. The great king has said he will be moving and wandering for the rest of his days. "Abel is gone, return to the ground from where you came," answered Michael. "Reveal not the secret that you know to your son, Cain, for he is a son of wrath, tell him nothing," Michael instructed. Thoughts of Sariel and Ramiel, his fallen brothers, entered Michael's memory as he departed. He considered that when one is committed in service to evil, there is no path to redemption. As it had been with Hallel, it had been with Sariel and Ramiel, and now with Cain. Eve sobbed. Adam was crying now, too, as they witnessed Abel's broken and lifeless body on the ground. They could not bear to leave him lying shattered and bloody there, but they did not know what to do. The voice of an angel was heard saying, "The earth will not receive a companion body, until the earth which was taken and fashioned from it returns." At that time, the angels took Abel's body and placed it on a rock far away and preserved it, because until the dust that had formed Adam was returned to the earth from where he came, no other would be accepted there. Abel would remain unburied until Adam died and was buried. Adam and Eve returned home and went inside the house, barely conscious of their whereabouts, and sat staring quietly at nothing for a long time. Why? 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 Death had entered the world because of them, and the weight of their sin was crushing them again. That evil Satan had touched their lives again and taken something precious from them again. It was a never-ending cycle of agony. Eve was once again overcome with the guilt of her sin. This had happened because of her weakness. Her sons were supposed to crush the head of the serpent, not each other. Would there be no end to the punishment? She knew there could not be an end to it. How could there be? She had not paid the real price for her sin. The great king had accepted the innocent blood of animals in her place because he has a gracious and loving disposition toward her, but it is temporary and has to be repeated over and over. Only innocent human blood would atone completely for her sin, and she understood clearly now that there is no innocent human blood because her sin had putrefied mankind. She had let sin into the world, and now she was responsible for the death of her beloved Abel and for Cain being exiled from his home. They had so many children that had run far from their home already. Cain and Abel and a few of their sisters were the only ones who had stayed close to them, and some of the very young ones still at home. Now, Abel was gone and Cain was exiled. Michael had told them not to even talk to Cain. How could it be restored? The great king was very clear: the wages of sin is death. What was the use of going on? When the sun had gone down, they lit no candle. No lessons tonight. All went to bed early. They lay holding each other and crying. Not since the first night in the Cave of Hope had thoughts of ending his own life crept into Adam's mind. He could not even bring himself to pray, because he was overcome with hopelessness until sleep had fallen on them. At that time Cain had left the presence of the great king, gone from the place where he was, and he went moving and wandering in the land farther east of paradise, he and all of his belongings. The dark prince said to the holy watchers nearby, "You see, there is nothing useful in them at all. How fragile and inadequate they are. They beat the life he gave them out of each other with crude implements and become dust again. Why should superior beings like you serve them? It was a waste of your time teaching them anything at all. See where they are now after all of your service and wise counsel? Do you forget how well we know you, liar? Are you implying you played no part in this?" asked one of the holy watchers. "You are the instigator of murder," added another of them. Ignoring the accusation of his manipulation, the dark prince continued, "Look at the kingdom I have gained. Come and join with me. I will give you a territory in my kingdom. We are gods here. We are made of light, while they are made only of clay. You are no longer made of light, devil. You have been stripped away from your thrones and are made of only darkness now," they replied, and the holy watchers left him where he stood.